been a little minute.
Feels good to be back for episode 116, but under shitty circumstances.
Terrible. Some might say the worst.
I'm sure as fans and hosts and hopefully listeners will feel better at the end of the episode than we do right now. But it feels grim, I guess, to miss the playoffs for the first time since our inaugural season. I didn't remember what this feeling felt like. And I mean, back then we were only a year into it as well at the time. So it wasn't as painful. I don't remember it being as painful as it feels today.
Well, I think what made it more painful is a few factors. One, us actually getting the win on decision day. Messi losing. I just figured Messi's going to come back and do Messi things. And then the ultimate smack to us is Red Bull score in stoppage time to send themselves to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just all around worst case scenario.
It doesn't get worse than that. And I mean, I would like to say at least we got our job done, but realistically, like, our job was failed
months ago.
Yeah, tens of different times throughout the season. And we went on Blue City Radio in our little bit of an absence on our own channel, but we were staying busy around the community, joined them, and it was before we knew for sure that we were out. But none of our conversations were really based around whether or not we were out. It was very general about the season, so make sure to pop over there. It was either their last or second to last episode, whatever it was. But things are weird, and I guess we've been not looking forward to this happening, but we've been expecting that this is going to happen for a while now. But it's different when it's real. Yeah,
I mean, just kind of big picture thing. Do you think that it was in the plans of, big decisions in terms of our front office, coaching staff, and things like that? Do you think that any of those decisions really had us making the playoffs one way or the other in mind?
Like, if we don't make them, then something is going to happen because of it. There will be a consequence. Right. Like Cushing getting fired or somebody getting fired.
Or, somebody in the front office or...
I don't know. I think if you were going to be reactionary, I think the reaction would have already happened. Because we've seen NYCFC for a while. News comes like Monday and Tuesdays. And it's Tuesday night. And we haven't heard anything from anybody, really. And I think you've even long said, you said on Blue City Radio, I think, like, Cushing is probably going to be here for 2024. Like, at this point, and now this week just fuels the fire more, but we felt like that for a while. It's obvious he's the city boy. I mean, they're not going to cut him loose.
Well, I think just there's a lot of tells, I think, from just our conversations and things that we're kind of getting into with the club and people who are around the club and in the know. The vibe is not that we are firing Nick. So if you're a big Cushing out guy, like, I don't know that you are going to be happy at the start of the next season.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I'm going to be happy at the start of the next season. And I'm not saying I'm a big Cushing out guy, but I think we kind of made the case in a few different ways on different episodes here and appearances that we've made elsewhere that if he was to go, it wouldn't be weird. It wouldn't be unwarranted. It would be shocking in the way that we think he's the city boy and they're going to keep him around and all that stuff. But in terms of performance and product on the field and decisions that have been made all year, it wouldn't be shocking. And it not only would it not be shocking, I think it would be expected that it would happen.
Right. Considering, like, a lot of the coaches that were in similar situations, they're all gone already. Like, their office has been cleaned out.
Yeah. I almost wonder if they like Cushing, or they like him because he's the city guy, but...
His price, probably.
He probably doesn't make a big stink about not getting backed. You think of, I mean, Dame, they pushed Dame, was doing that. We didn't get the personnel that we needed. Yeah. We got, some stimmies mid-season with Baki and Julian, but I don't know was he pushing for a ton of new personnel? Everything we've heard in the press conferences is we have a ton of talent on this team. We've been unlucky. Yeah. Things haven't gone our way.
Well, I'm sure he's pushing for it. Every coach wants it.
Yeah.
But an interesting point going into next season is if Nick is the guy next season, and that's who we're going with, and he's not backed for another season, I don't think, personally, that I could get behind anybody saying Cushing out at that point. Because at that point, the front office is making a decision that this is the fall guy. This is who, when it gets sticky, he's going to be gone, and we're going to back ourselves, and we're not going to be spending too much money in this time.
Well, that's the thing, too. So if you, in my opinion, if you keep Cushing this offseason, then you are admitting that things are not his fault.
Right.
Right? So now now we have to go down the totem, or not, either down or up the totem pole, either down to the players or
Right.
up to the front office, because he's supplanted in the middle between them. And yeah, with him sticking around, you've said it's not overwhelmingly Cushing's fault to the point where we need to make a change. So then I wonder, where does the blame lie?
There's a lot of players where the blame lies.
And there's
For
a lot
sure.
of, well, not a lot of front office members, but there are key front office members that blame lies on as well.
If there's ever been a season of like 33 in terms of who's at fault and blame, from the players getting 33%, the coach getting 33% in the front office, it was like honestly a full collective effort in folding.
Yeah, and failing. But at that point, then I think if you're okay with just saying that, with saying this isn't totally Cushing's fault, then there has to be blame that you're feeling yourself. And to not act on any of that is weird.
If you're in the front office, genuinely, and you're looking at some of the targets that we could have brought in, some of the targets that were brought into MLS, some of the, the players that we were even linked with ourselves, and the deals that weren't made, and the deals that were made but far too late, like there's so much blame. If you're Nick Cushing and you're looking at that and you're like, you guys waited really till the end of the transfer window to get some of these guys in, and they had to come in and immediately have the pressure of the entire season on their shoulders, and some of them still performed pretty well, like Rissa, performed as if he was there all season. Yeah. And he really came in and had a ton of pressure on his shoulders. Same with
Julian too.
With Baki and Julian, Alonso didn't really get the chances that the rest did, but
I would say Baki is probably the only one that I feel has been underwhelming.
Right.
For expectations, but
that's still like he adopted what was supposed to be somebody else's expectations.
Yeah, I mean, he came to the city, he was on the plane, and the whole city was, he's winning us the MLS Cup.
Yeah.
That is
and then he's going to be the
he hardly speaks English. Yeah. So incredibly, straight up impossible expectations to meet. And I guess that would be the only reason why it feels like he would have underperformed. But I think of guys that we brought in at the start of the season, because we did have...
But did we really?
So we have Kufre,
right.
We have Richie.
Right.
We have Alenich, who was, I would say, not given a fair shake to prove if he's anybody. And that would fall on Cushing's shoulders. And I think those are the three big ones. And
those are the only ones.
Yeah,
because everyone else was just being brought back, which I don't know if I was able to ask the question or not, but I would have preferred them not joining, because they really didn't like Santi was probably the best of them all, maybe Sands. But the guys that we brought back, what did they really provide? Yeah. Other than false hope, realistically. And
there were stretches for each where it felt like they were going to get there. Like a Kufre. We praised Kufre on the show for sure in a few different episodes. Same with Richie. When Santi was at his lowest this season, we were begging for Richie to steal his job. And there were 2 games where it felt like he literally could do that. And they weren't back-to-back. That was the whole issue, I guess, with Richie, is consistency wasn't there. And it goes with all of them. It goes with Kufre. And like I said, I'm not prepared, or I don't feel comfortable making any assumptions or analyzations on what Alenich is or what he was this season and what he could be. Just from my standpoint, that's probably where I'm most upset with Cushing on this season, is bringing a kid like that who appears to be a wonder kid and letting him rot behind Tavon all year. It's just...
And even at some points...
These are the unforgivable things.
NYCFC 2 players at some point.
Yeah.
And it was kind of highlighted in the last game just how electric he was, and the spark that he provided us when he came on. I was like, oh my God, where was this all season?
Yeah.
It was a talking...
He did that every time he came on, by the way.
What's crazy is that it was a talking point for so long that we got tired of complaining about it and stopped doing it. Yeah. We just expected that Alenich wasn't going to be playing. Yeah. Which is crazy.
It's just horrible. And, it's those types of things that are unforgivable. And you think of it kind of happened with Julian a little bit on a much smaller scale, because he was only here for, 10 games, where he had that not incredible debut, but he had the debut. He was really unlucky not to score a great goal. And then he came in and he did score a goal. And then in the next game, must win, I can't even remember who it was against. He didn't play. And that's one of the scenarios where we drop points. And you think of all these different scenarios where we drop points, and largely it does have to do with the personnel that's out there. I think on many occasions we talked about things, we perceived that things were being made much more defensive than they needed to be in a lot of ways. And you see that in a Tavon over an Alenich, a Matti Pellegrini over anybody that can kick a soccer ball on our team on the wing.
That's going to be a big discussion later.
Kevin O'Toole over a Kufre. I mean, in every position on the field, and even in my opinion, I don't think Pereira is less of an attacker than Keaton. I think he has maybe by 1%, right? Yeah. But I think the overcomings that Pereira has as a defender over Keaton to be able to do both far exceeds it, and there should not be a position where Keaton is starting over Pereira, which sucks to say. But in the final game of the season, I don't know how Keaton gets to start over Pereira after we have all been begging for 2 months now. Like that, the most important thing you can do this offseason is sign Pereira.
Yep.
So I don't know if that is a telltale sign that he's not coming back. I mean, they sub him in the 60th minute, and is that like his swan song for it? I don't know why you don't start him. In a must-win game, I have no clue how that happens.
I mean, he didn't look like a player that was leaving the club, like following that game, but also he may just not really care that much.
Yeah. Well, I think he's a passionate guy too. Like he just wants to be on the field somewhere and putting like everything he has out for whoever's badge is on his chest.
Well, I mean, that goes to the conversation of, there's a lot of people who are potentially out of contract after this season, and kind of who on the list who you would keep and who you would not keep.
So there's some people we have options for, so it's not up to them, it's up to us if we want to keep them. And then there's a group that we don't even have to have a conversation with them, or if they are not interested in the bullshit product we just put out for 8 months, they could just walk. So we'll flash this up on the screen too. I have it here. But the list of people that are out of contract as of recording this episode are Matti, Kufre, Pereira, Keaton, Richie Barraza, Freese, Jason, and then some youths, Christian McFarlane, Nico, and J.A. Jimenez from NYCFC too.
Yep.
So there are some...
Turnbull.
Well, he has options, so we could just lock him up, and he can't do anything about it. But all those other guys, they can just walk if they want to. And there are some heavy hitters on that list. Keaton, for all we just said about Pereira and Keaton, that's not to take away. I think both of them can find a starting spot in this lineup.
For sure.
If you want to
especially
attack,
if Alfredo is not re-signed.
Yeah, if you want to attack and push the pace of play. I listened to Blue City Radio today, and he said Ronnie's famous quote of, "I'd rather win 5-4 than 1-0."
Right.
That is that's when you're trying to create entertainment for fans, not just rolling a product
or
out
trying just not to lose.
Yeah. So Keaton's a guy where, in my opinion, if you're trying to win a game, you can find a lineup that has Pereira, Keaton, Santi, probably not, I guess not Maxi if he's not healthy, but that is a name where, can you imagine Keaton just leaves on a free like a month from now?
I think Keaton's a lifer.
I agree.
Like he's a rest of his career guy, in my opinion, unless we don't, for whatever reason, re-sign him.
So let's run through the list.
Yep.
Do we keep him or do we let him walk? Number one up there. Do I have to say his name? Matti.
Voldemort.
Let him walk?
Let him do whatever he wants. He can handstand out of the door if he wants to.
What if we pay him less?
No, he's not worth any money.
Okay.
Like, just being a nice guy doesn't win us anything. Yeah. I'm sorry.
What about Kufre?
Kufre, I would take back 100%.
Yeah. You know who I wish we kept instead of Kufre?
Yeah.
That guy...
He's good.
Is tearing it up for Columbus. And he's in the playoffs and we're not.
I'll tell you off air what I was just thinking.
So then we have Pereira. We know where we stand.
Yep, 100%.
We have Keaton. We just talked about Richie. I think we're letting him walk, right?
Yeah, I'd let him walk. Yeah. He didn't prove enough. And
then a very interesting one, and this, I mean, we can start the conflict for both of them at the same time, but we have Louis Barraza and Freese are both out of contract this offseason.
I think...
Do you keep them both?
I would keep both.
Yeah.
But let them know who's the starter now.
And it's Freese.
It's Freese.
Yeah.
And I think Barraza may be at the point where he believes that he can be a starter, so he may not accept on the other side.
I don't know where he can be a starter.
I don't know. Maybe he goes in...
Now that what's his name is gone, Prince Mandanda?
Yeah.
Yeah. They need a keeper, trust me.
I think there's somewhere in the MLS for him. It's just not... Like, right now, he's not starting material for us. But at the same time, like, I love the story. I love the fact that he's a draft pick coming here. He sat behind Sean Johnson. Like, the whole thing, I like it. It's just the performances matter and the product you put out matters. So we need to see more in terms of shot stopping. We need to see more in terms of being a leader back there and stuff like that. And all of those things are things that Freese has right now that we don't have to wait on. And so if I had to pick one or the other, I'd be Team Matt.
Yeah, I'd go the same. And then we have, I think, probably the second biggest name after Keaton is Jason.
Dude,
that is
if you let him walk.
If we let Jason walk.
He is going to light us up every time he plays this. Because he's an MLS player.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is.
He is a lifer.
He's an MLS lifer.
And he's an NYCFC Academy product, one that we have made good on in the way that he is a good player, and we've managed to actually get him first team minutes. Because that doesn't happen around here.
That doesn't happen much.
Gio, Scali, who knows?
He has that level of talent. And so he is a guy that if we don't sign, he may go to a more...
He may go to, like...
attractive club.
I don't want to
and actually go and be a Bundesliga player. Like, he could genuinely do that.
Like, imagine a Philly.
Anything.
If
like
Jason is ever sniffs Philly, and it won't be a knock to him, but, like, it would be a failure to let Jason walk and to let him go to another club in the league.
It's kind of like letting that kid from Brooklyn go to the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you even do that?
Yeah, how did that happen? And then we have young kids, Christian, McFarland, Nico, and JJ. They'll probably all stay.
I would say JJ, Nico, Christian.
They're all at risk, actually. Christian's over there playing, what is it, U15s or 17s for England. So I imagine he has eyes on him.
Well, he was in the 18 for our last game. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that says anything. But we have really not seen anything from, like, what have we ever seen?
That's probably the last hope from the club. Like, hey, look, you made a team sheet this year.
Right,
don't leave us.
Right. Please, let at least talk to us.
Yeah, as he literally is, like, playing in London.
But Nico, I think, is important to keep.
100, yeah.
And JJ, with his performances, he's important to keep as well. I might keep them both.
And then we have some guys where it's up to the club fully if they want to keep them around. And I'll save the best for last on my end. But we have Owusu. He's staying, I would say. Then we have Turnbull.
I'd like to keep him.
But the only question I would have is, I guess he could play for NYCFC too, but another person on the list is Kevin O'Toole. And Turnbull and Kevin O'Toole are both direct competitors for their position on this team, in my opinion. Kevin O'Toole is probably getting capped. He's played way too many minutes this season to let him walk on an option.
Dude, you think if Cushing's our coach for not keeping O'Toole?
Yeah.
Like, that paperwork's been signed already. Gotta be.
And then what could be the potential heartbreaker of the offseason for me, Alfredo.
I'll say it now. He's not staying. And I can picture the exit interview and everything. It's
going to hurt.
It's coming. So I would start preparing now.
It's going to hit. I think I agree with you in the way that, not that he doesn't bring something to this team, but I think we already have players that fill that role. Too many of them.
Not only that, but you've kind of seen him phased out and not really involved as much. He was hurt, but even when he was back, it was like here and there, spotty substitution in the 75th minute, 80th minute, something like that.
Well, we've seen his peak. His peak was probably 2021 with a lot of the other boys that were around at that time. Yeah. And even then, he was a spot starter. Right.
So I don't imagine him staying. I don't know where, but it's going to hurt.
Yeah. And that's, if you consider all the names that we just listed, so Matty, Kufre, Alfredo Pereira, Keaton Ritchie, Barraza, O'Toole, Freese, Jason, Turnbull, and some kids. Any name that you didn't hear is on the roster next year. Right. Which is a lot. So you're thinking...
And some people coming back from loan, potentially.
Yeah, potentially Thiago could come back from loan. Acevedo could come back from loan. If that is a guy that comes back, that kind of lends itself to the Alfredo conversation where, Alfredo will not see a minute if we have, like, an Acevedo on our team and a Sands. Barring massive injury, right? He doesn't play. But everybody else we're keeping. That's the likes of Tales, Baki, Julian, Burke, Thiago Martins, obviously still a DP, Sands.
Unless somebody wants to come and buy those players.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know if we're willing to sell. I know Tales for a long time has had rumors around him, whether that's going to Palmeiras and people say Europe. I don't see that happening at the moment. I think he is another season away from that, and it has to be it can't be a season like this.
Right. Well, that Meg got him some worldwide recognition.
Yeah. And then Santi. And aside from that, we have Maxi and some other role players, but those are the big names of people that will be here. And I don't know if it's just the eternal optimist in me, but that is a good
base.
Core. Yeah, a good
For
base.
sure.
I mean, look at what Julian did in that Chicago game.
Even like we're sitting here eliminated from the playoffs, and I genuinely think had we made it in, like I don't think we get first rounded. And maybe that's complete copium.
Group stage thing, so anything goes.
Like I just don't imagine us like losing before winning a game at least.
Well, and the truth is we've been in maybe our best form of the season since the Leagues Cup.
Right.
And Cushing has said that in post-game pressers, and he is right about that.
The thing is, the product is still stale. Well, it's still not super fun to watch.
Because I think Cushing pumps the brakes when he doesn't need to. I
Right.
think if he just lets these boys go out and play, things would look much different. But, I mean, we already talked about it earlier. The overall defensive mind of, I want to go up 1-0, 2-0, sit on it. Or say we're losing 1-0 and we end up coming back and we get ourselves to 2-1, sit on it. Every sub is defensive. It's just such a uninspiring way to play soccer. And it makes for boring games. And there's a conversation I want to talk about because I know people have been talking about it on Twitter, but I think Blue City riled things up a little bit because they made the title of their episode, has NYCFC turned some of their diehard fans into casuals? And I would say yeah.
For sure.
And let's be realistic, right? It's not like March is going to come around and somebody that was diehard in 2023 is not going to again be diehard. But I'll say it myself, like this past month or two, we have made decisions to do things on Saturday nights where otherwise Saturday nights would be blocked. Yeah. We'd be at the stadium or we would block it literally to sit at home on the couch and watch a game.
Right.
I mean, and I'll be the first to say about myself, this weekend for decision day, to find out if this whole season has meant nothing. Like I made a decision to do something else instead of getting to watch the game live. So I think absolutely it's warranted. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. When you have such an uninspiring product on the field and there's like no entertainment value to watching NYCFC. It's only like a disappointment value, honestly. That's what it's been.
Outside of that Julian goal too, like that last game sucked. Mm-hmm. But I did watch it live. Yeah. And it was just anxiety and one moment of happiness and then the rest was like, okay, well, what's going on elsewhere?
Yeah, it's not.
Like, it was just I didn't care about the game that I was watching. It was like, what are the other schools? Yeah. What's going on? Like, is there a way that we can do this?
But it's felt like for a while like we've played ourselves out of
relevance almost. Not relevance, but like
I mean, out of the relevance of your own fans.
Right, like you said, in terms of accepting other plans other than watching the game, like
that's almost never happened.
Like, would we go to dinner instead of would we be watching on our phone at dinner? Yeah. Like, no, like that's just not a thing.
Yeah, and it has to be said too. I think it's a little silly because I know some people in their comment section are like, if you became more casual because of the team's performance, then you were never really a diehard.
That's not true. Well, it's like
that's such, in my opinion, it's like a silly hill to die on. Like, I feel like people, the same way that players can become
right.
Like as a fan, it gets to a point after 34 weeks of you feeling like you know better than the guy or the front office or running people out there. Like, why do I want to support them this next game anyways? Like,
it's not like, that's a good, it's just boring. Like when you set aside, let's just say, because realistically this is what happened. For 30 weeks straight, including honestly longer because other competitions and things like that, different Wednesdays, leaving work early to go see games on Wednesdays.
On midweeks.
Like, you do that so often and you see such a piece of crap performance and like uninspired performances and you're just like, dude, I'm going to go eat some pasta. Like, I'm going to go have pasta with my friends and I'm going to have a good time.
Well, and it goes for the same way, not just people that become more casual in terms of watching games and stuff, but attending games. I guess.
When they switch it up and it's at Red Bull now and there's 14 people in the crowd. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't blame the 100, 200 people that didn't show up.
Or when our attendance total after 2 wins is 25K, and our attendance total against Chicago was 19,000. I mean, that is what's going to happen when the club is not supporting the fans the way that the fans are supporting the club. When it's not feeling like it's reciprocated, it does get hard to continue to have those feelings. I mean, for all the things that we say, where there's going to be situations, at least at the end of this season, where we've decided to do other things than watch the game and then catch a replay and stuff, the love is still unwavering. The diehard is still there, and that's why I think it's silly to think otherwise, because after 6 months of getting beat down, 30 weeks of getting beat down, it's like, hey, I'm going to take a break this weekend.
Yeah, I don't want to feel bad.
And then you're at the restaurant and you see us lose like 3-0 anyways, and you're like, all right, this is a good decision.
But then there's the other part of us where, like, yeah, you still are a diehard fan, like you said, because I'm watching the game at the restaurant. It's on the table. I'm still watching it. If I can't do that, if I don't have the service for that, like the notifications are on.
Yeah.
I'm still sweating it out with you guys.
And like going home and rewatching the whole thing. Right. In our case, like taking notes, coming to a podcast, recording it, like getting all that stuff out. It just, I think in my case, maybe I was a little hurt. I felt like I would be in the class of people that maybe became more casual, but then to think that people aren't diehard. And I feel for the fans too that might see that, or even season ticket holders. There's a lot of people that said they've canceled their season tickets. Are they no longer diehard fans if they had season tickets for 8 years?
They're making a point.
That's what I'm saying. Just if actions change it, you can still be diehard, but the way that you support your club is kind of personal to you, and that's kind of where I lie on it.
The other thing too is somebody like our more casual is still far more diehard than like 99% of supporters. Like, well,
and that's for all the diehards.
That goes for other people too. Like, there's people who don't record a podcast that probably support this team and genuinely like their life changes when we lose. Like there's so much more diehard than us that exists.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are at every single home game.
They'll travel to Philly. They'll travel anywhere.
Every weekend, Third Rail, Templeados. There's a whole bunch of different supporters groups.
And they're all more diehard.
Literally, like you go on Instagram, like 2 days before the game, they all have stories up. Yo, $15 bus ride to Montreal. Right. It's like, these dudes all have passports?
Right, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe you have to be in New York. Like, that's just kind of a thing. But, like, yeah, I mean, we're diehard to the point where, like, when we're making life decisions, we make it around being able to be around the club and be at the stadium. Yeah. But, like, we're not as diehard as going to every single game or traveling to super far away, other countries and things like that. Like, there's a level above us. There's a level above maybe even them. Yeah,
but I think in all cases, regardless of how invested you are or aren't, I think it's understandable to deal with your fandom your own way after, especially if there's a lot of people that take like how the FO and how Cushing acts and talks and press conferences like personal. Yeah. And like in some cases, like if they're a season ticket holder and they're paying upwards of hundreds or thousands of dollars, it's warranted at that point, especially if you've been doing it for 9 years.
Right. You're a season ticket holder.
And becoming jaded to me is not out of the norm. Right. After you've invested so much and it feels like they're not investing in us as fans.
Exactly. I mean, imagine you're a season ticket holder. You go and get that $25 bucket of chicken every weekend. You're buying a couple of beers at $12 a clip. You're buying a jersey that's almost $200.
You're buying the train, the subway, whatever it is there and back.
Using gas. You're taking time out. You maybe you have a babysitter that you have to pay. Like all of this stuff.
And you're not diehard.
And you're just
week 34. You were done with the bullshit.
Week 34. You decided to get pasta with your friends, or you got a beer with your friends.
You became more casual for a weekend.
You know, and only after being beat down.
Yeah, like beat down for
like. Had there even been a glimpse of hope or a little shimmer of light, your ass is there. Like you're not having that pasta. You're not having that time.
I'm saying we're on the Opta, and they say MLS Cup 0%.
Yeah,
0, and it wasn't just that. It was Eastern Conference Finals, 0%. I don't know what they call it, whatever the equivalent of a divisional round is, 0%. Yep. I think the only percentage that we even had that wasn't 0 was to make it out of the group stages, which was 4%. Right. 11 to even make the playoffs. I mean, that is, I don't know if you've ever played a plus 900 parlay. but I think that's equivalent to 11%. Those don't hit. I mean, you have to be
seeing.
You have to have if you're trying to hit 900 regularly, if you're trying to hit one a year, I mean, you have to be seeing a double. Yeah. So yeah, that one fired me up a little. I didn't like that. I don't like people trying to tell other people how much they care about their own club.
Yeah, and like, not to be too crazy, but like, some of these dudes don't go to games. Like, they just
yeah.
Like, we don't see you at the games.
Yeah.
It's just a Twitter account. Just relax.
The good thing is we have a lot, I think, to look forward to in 2024, and
so
that's how this all started. I don't even know how this started, but what we were talking about was the players that we are keeping.
Right. I mean, it's concerning to have such a steep drop off, and I think that's where a lot of people being pushed away comes from. It's because it was just a straight graph going straight up all the way to the peak of the championship, and then despite losing a ton of players, losing our coach, we still managed to get to the Eastern Conference Final the next year, only losing to our biggest rival.
Yeah.
And then we don't make the playoffs. Like, that is such a steep decline.
Well, after many years, it's not just the Eastern Conference Final, but it's winning the thing before, making the playoffs for 4 years straight. Yeah, all this.
It just seemed like we were becoming a team that was going to be winning trophies consistently, and then it was just like such a steep decline in performance and cutting edge and mentality and everything. So I guess where you put that blame, that's on you as a fan. I think it's, like I said, it's 33.
Yeah.
And there's some dead wood to get rid of. There's some players that don't deserve to wear the badge anymore, and we kind of just got to go from there.
Yeah, have to see what happens. The offseason is going to be interesting. There's a list of however many was that? That might have been 15 players. At least a third of them crucial pieces of this club, whether that's as a youth or as a current starting player, the minutes that they've given to the team, even just in this season. So things could look a lot different next year. Probably still manned by Cushing, and I guess that's something we have to come to terms with.
Which I think
will be easier.
I mean, if we have overall, I'm okay with that. Like, I've come to terms with the fact that, like, I think he's the guy for next year, and I'm okay with that. Like, I think there is a lot to be said about how he was backed or lack of being backed in a serious way. I think that there is a lot to be said about players not playing the way that he wants to and him just having to sit there and answer to it. You know, I would back a million times, but if that one time
as
was
a manager?
As a human being, as a manager, as a player. I
thought you were saying hire him straight up as a manager.
I would. But, you know, I back him 9 times out of 10, but that one time is if he's in any way thinking that he's bigger than the club. And so if that was the situation, then sayonara. Like, see it, dude. I'm not comfortable with a manager who is trying to get a hold of a locker room and somebody else thinking that they're bigger than that, if that was the case.
Yeah.
You know, so...
In the same way that it's... we can't have a manager pushing players out like that.
Yeah, no, that too.
Both of those things cannot happen at the same time.
Right.
You have to, as a manager, like, you have to be able to manage men. I don't know if that's how they created the word manager, but it sounds very similar. And for Chanot to even get to a point where he feels like that, it goes so against what we understood of him as if this was ever a thing, which I doubt because of Chanot's character. But, you know, there's tons of blame to be thrown around. Like you said, it's 33, and it was an overall failure. And now we all have to pick up the pieces as a front office, as players, as a manager, and as fans. Unfortunately, too, we didn't have as much say as we would like to, and we're kind of left to deal with the consequences of that. And it's going to be a tough offseason, I guess. I don't know.
So speaking about the offseason, what is kind of your wish list in terms of anything? Not just players, but wish list in terms of maybe accountability, transparency, things like that.
Oh, I don't think there's going to be any of that. Clearly, I mean, I don't expect, like, what are they going to do? Come out and make a statement like, "Hey guys, we screwed up this year. We're sorry," like that. Like, I don't know. I
don't see that really happening. But transparency in terms of maybe, I don't know, like.
Well, I don't know. Maybe players leave and we get conversations or sound bites that maybe shed a little bit more light. I don't know. Maybe the right French reporter catches Chanot after a bad game in paradise, wherever he's playing. I mean, anything, and that could happen to any player that leaves or
we could, bro, imagine we get the Chanot interview where he...
Well, I was going to say, I'm petrified reaching out to players after Alex Ferguson. Not petrified, but...
What's so funny, if you look at my Instagram DMs, it is just me just sucking up to any player that'll listen to me.
Well, and that's the issue,
it's all just red.
You know, we can't get really... At least it's red. I mean, that is a step in the right direction.
I go, Maxime, we stand with you. Like, loser.
Red, though?
Dude.
Red, though?
Yeah. But nobody in this world...
Red, though.
Nobody in this world, like, is more of a stan or a loser for this club than me, man.
Well, I was going to say, that's like... Recently, I was like, I love Hack so much as a player. And after he scored that first goal against Nashville, like, mid-season, I DM'd him from the pod account. And read, no response.
Yeah.
After... People can go into our archives. We have a little bit of a history with Hack, not to build it up more than it was. He literally just said hi at an event.
And that he knew the show.
Yeah, and he approached
He was aware of...
I didn't go up. He came to me, which was one of the mind-blowing moments of having a podcast where you're like, oh, wow, people, like, we're not just in this room recording and nobody ever hears it.
It's not Matt's Twitter where it's just into the void.
Yeah, it's not just into the void. But yeah, I thought, like, I should just be commenting on every single one of Hack's Instagram posts, like, from my personal account, being like, let's keep going, bro. like the emoji with the smoke coming out, like, all that. And he likes it. I'm like, hell yeah. Me and Hack are boys.
Yeah, we're friends. So you want to answer our DM.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the delusion of being a fan many times on here. And that's what we are at the end of the day. Delusional fans. And that's how the podcast was birthed. And I don't know what season this is for us.
It takes a little bit of delusion to...
it takes a lot.
Like a significant amount.
Yeah, don't underplay the amount
like
of
if there was a pile of delusion right here that we have, it'd be a third host of the show.
Yeah.
You have to be delusional to think like anyone would care to listen to you. Mm-hmm. I think it's when you're reminded that there are people that are also delusional enough to listen to you. It's like humbling a little bit. Yeah.
Well, and I think what it comes down to is not just delusional to think that people are listening just so, what is the word? Just so crazy that you need to get the words out of your own brain by any means. And that's podcasting.
Yeah.
That is podcasting.
How did we get here?
That is podcasting, and this is, I think, season 5 for us. No, 4.
2019.
It really depends on how you count it. So we had 20.
Well, but that wasn't at the end of the 2018 season.
It was the MLS is back tournament. Or no.
No, because that was.
It was the end of the 2019 season, so we had that.
And then we went straight into COVID time.
MLS is back. 2021, 2022, 5.
That's crazy. 5 of 8.
And how do the off seasons with podcasts work, anyways? Does the off season count as season 6, or is it still season 5? I think it's season 6.
Season 0.5.
Season 5.5.
So this is season 5.5.
Yeah. Well, this is the finale of season 5. This is the grand finale. I know we want to bring people onto the show because we didn't get to do that a lot this season. And it feels good and it feels bad because I like to get our thoughts out there, especially when we have guests on. We'll talk as much as the guests do.
I would say...
share thoughts.
The reason that this season really wasn't what we wanted it to be, not only with the product on the field, but like, honestly, our performance. Like the vision that we had for this year versus what the outcome was is equally disappointing as the product that we saw for NYCFC.
I was going to say when the studio comes in week 7.
Yeah, like it was just, I feel like just in our own lives, like this was the craziest, most packed year that we've had in a long time. And a lot of that really is, it was going to a lot more games than we ever have.
Yeah. Which
was
a cool experience because for the first time I think, not to gas ourselves up, but I think we birthed what is recording an episode at the stadium and doing that for the first. I think that Yankee Stadium thing was probably top 3 coolest things we've ever done.
For sure.
With the podcast, with that, whatever you want to call it in the background, that set landscape of Yankee Stadium back there from the Apple TV booth.
Yeah.
Because the media guy was just like, yeah, just go in there. It's just a room.
Just go in there.
You know, moments after, and then whoever else was in there.
Crazy.
It was crazy.
Itself to having guests and doing guest stuff, because there's a lot of technical things that we couldn't work around with our current setup that we had the pleasure of being able to do, the benefit of being able to do before. So I think a lot of those things are going to be figured out. And
but we always save it for the off seasons or the preseasons. I mean, we did the whole guest run preseason leading up. We had like 5 or 6 dudes back to back to back. And that's the best time to bring people on, because when there's not a game to talk about, it is tough. But the rumor mill or the news for a club like NYCFC, who they don't only keep the folder close to their chest, they have it in a safe in the basement. Yeah. And
it's hard to get info.
And the street's locked down by police, and you can't even get close to the house.
It's funny in a weird way, like it's, and I'm saying this in terms of like, it's funny that in a way that I don't know anything about the world that this is about to be in. But like, it's funny to hear people be like, I'm going to become an insider. And I'm like, how, like, what does that mean? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you become a Fabrizio?
You don't start at a club like NYCFC.
Like, I just don't.
You just like DM agents.
But that's wild.
And how do you find out?
That's cool.
I don't know.
It's cool, and I think the sport's better with it. Like, it just baffles my brain with
what I don't like about reporters and insiders and stuff like that is fans think that they're not allowed to have opinions.
True.
Which, I don't know. It's kind of, I think that's an old way of thinking.
Well, but as long as they're separate.
That you need to be, people think that having an opinion takes away integrity of reporting. It's kind of like they say Pat pays Aaron Rodgers. Pat McAfee pays Aaron Rodgers to be on his show, and there's like no integrity in that. As if Aaron is not spending, or everybody, Von Miller goes, a whole bunch of different guys go on there every week, ex-NFL coaches and stuff, and they get paid to do it. And it's like to not think that the Falcons manager doesn't have to sit out an hour of what is one of the hardest jobs in the world each week to like talk about who knows, I mean, what, you know.
Could be anything.
Could be anything. But yeah, for whatever reason, people think reporters aren't allowed to have opinions, and it's weird. That's why I like this, because like we can just talk shit, we could have opinions, we could do all that, and it's fine. Yeah. So the insider stuff, to me, I don't know.
I like the insider stuff, but at the same time, I don't. And sometimes I have to block it out because I miss when things were truly exciting. Like when things would drop and it's like, wow, I never knew this would happen. Like I never knew that this was even in the works. And now it's like,
I think we'd be horrible at being insiders.
You can't be like take soccer away. You know what's coming out 3 weeks, almost a month before. It's like it takes away what I think is a lot of the fun in supporting a team. Is all of a sudden you get a notification and it's we just signed David Villa. What the heck? Like this club's gonna be crazy. We got David Villa. Like something that we'll never experience anymore at this point.
Yeah. Well, and there's no way I hear something exclusive and it's not texted to your phone in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Like if I was an insider and I found something out, there's no way. There's no way. The first thing I'm doing, I'm texting you, I'm texting whoever, everybody.
Also, another piece of news, not news, I wouldn't say news, but possibilities, Neymar tore his ACL. I think that if there was any single shred of truth to him coming to the MLS, like that had to have expedited the whole, every talk about it. If it doesn't end his career. Like, well, not to be that guy.
I just don't know. I don't know.
I'd take it. I'd take Neymar off the ACL.
But you haven't, it's because you've been playing with him in Ultimate Team.
No, not that much. I didn't even boot up FIFA yesterday.
So you think he's better than he is probably in real life?
I have not seen him play in like
That's the danger of these games.
Yeah.
You know, when you're playing career mode and Freese doesn't make a save, well.
So something a little more structured than something I wanted to do before we close this out. Your best moment of the season, worst moment of the season, your top performer and the biggest dud.
Do you have any in mind already? Have you decided yours?
Not really.
Best moment of the season, I think, has to be, I honestly don't know. Not for lack of them, but to just try to think of it. I mean,
I would say my best moment of the season would be Baki scoring his first goal and hitting the Ronaldo Sui. Because in that moment, it felt like that was real hope. Like there was real genuine hope, and I was like, damn, like this is really happening. This is gonna happen. Our season's turned around.
I'll say best moment of the season was week 1 when we had to make a hack thumbnail because he had a masterclass against Nashville. Yeah. And we were like, we waited all preseason. We've gone tooth and nail for this kid for 3 years now. Week 1, he gets the start, and we're like, okay, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. And then he is the best player on the team. in that game. And then he doesn't feature again for 6 weeks. We all know what happened. But that was probably the most hype. And then for worst moment of the season, there's a lot of them. And I think a lot of them were out of our control. But because we were there in person, going to the Leagues Cup against Atlas.
Yeah.
And losing the way that we lost on what was one of many egregious calls against us this year, or lack of calls against us this year, was horrible.
Yeah.
And it's different when we go there too.
Not in the way that game happened too was horrible.
Yeah.
In terms of
he almost scored.
Hack did score.
Hack scored.
And it was a goal.
Yeah. It was the roller coaster of it, where it was so high and went so low.
I'd say my worst would be Maxi tearing his ACL, because that was like the end of hope in my eyes.
Yeah.
That was hope evaporating.
I think if you had to pin a moment where the season ended,
like 100%.
It was that.
And it's not that Maxi really was amazing up to that point, but he was at least bringing a spark and giving us an idea of what it used to be like. And at that point, we were just thinking, like, dude, if Maxi and Baki could just figure this out, we're gonna kill teams. We're gonna really be a dangerous club. Mm-hmm. Then, he gets his ACL taken from him.
Yeah,
and that was just horrible. My star of the season. It's hard to put a finger on that, because do you go overall stats wise? I don't think. I would say somebody that filled me with joy every time I watched them play. Also, could it be somebody that came late? Could it be somebody that's always been here? That's the question. That's my guy, Jason. I think Jason is my guy for the season. When I watched him play, I had joy in my heart. And it led to the thing that I said preseason, which was, I don't care who's playing, as long as they try hard and we get results with them. And I felt like Jason 100% embodied that the entire season. Yeah. So Jason's my guy. I'll go a different way I don't want to say one of the new guys. I think a lot of people listening would probably jump, if we were to have a big poll, people would probably jump towards Julian, which I think is a late shout. Definitely. But for me, it's Thiago, 100%. Martins? Hell yeah. That's a good shout. He has been an Iron Man, dude. Yeah, that's a good shout. If we're talking about full season, he has just kept it tidy back there. Colin-esque, not in the same way, but there were a lot of times where we didn't need to or have to talk about Collins. Come back mad early from injury too. As a DP, there were almost, when he came back from injury, he got very unfairly criticized, I think, for what it took to come back that quick. Yeah. And then to be forced into a role because we shipped out Chanot and we were trying to find consistency with plugging Hack and Burke and Tavon in a center back, and we were like, we just need our DP to be there. And he came back early for that, and he just did his job all year. Yeah. And there were no outstanding lowlights. Not one. I can't think of one. I'm sure there probably were. There probably was one or two. Right? Philly, when he got hurt, he missed the header. Yeah. I think to get hurt. Uh-huh. Oh no, that's when he got a pen called on him and he got sent off. Right. But we thought that was a bad pen. But that brings up, that was actually my honorary worst moment, was seeing that live. Losing Thiago, losing that game in the way that we did. Yeah. That was horrible. And then dud of the season. Dude. We can't say Matty. Matty's not allowed. Oh. Too easy. That's an easy read. Dud of the season for me would have to be... It's hard because people that fell out of form for a while have come back into form. So you'd have to give it to Richie or Kufre. Richie. I think Richie. Yeah, Richie probably. No one on the team has been consistently outstandingly bad. Nobody has. Palos went for a run though. I know, but now he's all the way back, and I'm coping that he's going to be our hero in 2024. So I can't say he's. It's the circle of life. I can't say he sucks now. And Kufre is not. No, Kufre scored goals. The reason why I don't say Kufre is because it wasn't his fault. He got iced out of the lineup. Not only that, but when he did play, he played with heart. He scored goals. He assisted. He was a tank. To me, I just say Richie because he did keep getting the opportunities, and it looked good once or twice, and then it was buddy. Yeah, it's got to be your legs. It's got to be Santi. Yeah, Richie. Yeah. It would have been, if you asked me, week 8. Santi. If you ask me every other 2 weeks, it would be Santi. Yeah. Although my runner-up best moment of the season was Santi's top net goal against Miami. Where he's screaming like a madman. That
was a man
I was in the
possessed
middle
by a different beast.
of a dance floor.
That was a different, to do something like that, and this will be the last question of the podcast. It'll kind of lead into it, but that is what a DP is, and that is what a DP does.
For sure.
Where he decided, what was it, the 60th minute? He decided that game was going to change.
Right.
He decided that we were going to go up, and he just did it.
Just did it.
And that is what you see Mukhtar do. That is what you see Lucien Acosta do. That is what you see Bouanga do. That is what everybody around the league, when you have a DP player, is that once or every other game, they will flick a switch and they will change the game.
Yeah.
Literally, it's like in Super Mario Strikers, deep cut, special shotting, where like you hit the time and it's perfect. It doesn't matter what the players on the other team wants to do. It doesn't matter what the keeper wants to do. Santi is going to, in this moment, impose his will and change the result single-handedly, which begs the question. He's looked much better now, but we can't forget how bad the early season was. Is Santi as a DP worth it?
Yes, but he's just not a 10. Mm-hmm. That's the simple answer. He is a great player. He needs to be a winger, and that is the best way that he can contribute to this team. He can just never play 10 for us again, unless we're under extreme injury conditions. Like it's beyond something that's a lost cause. Like, he's a winger. He's a support / attacking player that likes to run at the back line. That's what he is. I don't want to see us messing with him as a 10 ever again. If I got to argue with 13-year-olds on Twitter about it, I will do it. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, I would say I think he's worth it, and it's just based on the fact that he's 23 years old. I think we forget a lot how young these players are. It's
a lot of
like,
them, yeah.
Imagine in any other sport or any other league in the world, like trying to win a league where like the average age of your starting 11 is 21 years old. Like,
yeah.
These kids have no clue.
I mean,
and it's different in other sports too, but like these kids are from all over the world.
Yeah.
Some of them have only met each other this year, are in this foreign nation to them, some less than others because they've been here long, but like, dude, they're 20-year-olds.
Right.
Age is in a different perspective for me because I'm an old-ass man now, but it's like to think like this kid is 23 and he is like the face of this franchise, and like how does he have that? Dude, I was like working at Home Depot at 23.
Right.
Bro, and I was like, holy shit, I'm so hungover, but I have to drive the forklift. Like, imagine this kid that has to pull up and do that shit to Miami against Messi. Messi wasn't playing, but it's just like, you forget how young these kids are.
Right. But then there's other situations where their youth can be put into perspective for what it is, and you got Alphonso Davies, who's 22.
Yeah.
And he's one of the faces of Bayern Munich, and he's been for 4 years since he was 18 years old.
Yeah. Well, that's why Santi's in the MLS and
right.
Davies
So that's where that
kind of
that gets into a perspective where it's like sometimes age doesn't really matter. Like, you kind of are what you are, and that's fine.
It's true. You are here for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
This felt good.
Yeah. This was the way that the end of season episode had to be.
Yeah, for sure.
It always had to be this way.
Definitely.
Just gratitude to the listeners. I don't know if anybody is going to make it 105 minutes. Sorry, an hour and 5 minutes. That's not how time works. An hour and 5 minutes.
If you did, comment somewhere, like tweet a gold chain.
Yeah.
Just say gold chain.
I believe this is our longest episode ever. And I think you guys listening and everything like that enables us to do some of the different things that we've talked about, like the homecoming. And we have plans coming up. I don't know if it's going to happen because it's getting cold outside. And if you go listen, that's the thing. If you're here, you obviously care about us and the show and everything. So you probably already listened to the Blue City Radio episode, but Mike dropped a bomb in that episode.
He talked about it? He said it?
He said it by name. So go listen to that and you'll know exactly what we're talking about. But you enable us to do cool things like this and sit at Yankee Stadium and Citi Field in those episodes with the
insane backdrop and sit in a press conference with and Phil Neville's.
Beckham's walking in the hallway. The rights to walk out of the locker room with Tavon. And just be able to dap him up and be like, yo, you played your ass off today. And like and as you're both walking to your cars, like it's like dream moments that we would have had back in 2015 watching Bill de Blasio attend the first NYCFC home game with us. Not with us, but he was also, we were both there, he was there. And you getting to go, we didn't even talk about it. I don't know, maybe they probably don't check, but this guy got to go to the men's national team game against Germany at Rentschler. Yeah. Which is like, how many UConn football games have you been to at Rentschler with like our grandpa? Yeah. And like now you're there like working it. You got to be in a press conference with Greg Berhalter. Not that I mean, you like him or anything.
It was funny because as soon as they were like, Greg's done and the German coach is coming, I was like, I'm going to go watch the boxing match in my car, actually. But
yeah, to be there with like Ruger, watching Gundo play live.
Sonic, Gundo.
Like
Ter Stegen.
Hummels was there. Like
Gosens, like unbelievable stars.
Champion League, World Cup winners and stuff.
Pulisic.
Yeah.
Like there was a moment where it was me and a few guys that were there as media as well. There's a couple guys from the NYCFC scene. And we're just kind of waiting, trying to figure out where the press conference is, because there's an open media area and then there's a press conference as well. And we're standing there and then we see this tall man walking towards us. And I'm like, who's this handsome blonde man? Like, who is that? And then it dawns on me my infinite knowledge of random soccer players. Yes. That's Leno, the former Arsenal keeper. That's literally passing me inches next to me. And I'm like, well, I want to ask him what cologne he wears. Like, that's Jesus. Just crazy things like that.
But that's the point, is people that support enable those things to happen.
Yeah, and crazy.
For that, the gratitude is unmatched. And we're going to keep going. I mean, we're probably talking about NYCFC until somebody unplugs the mic on it. Or I'm talking like in terms of life. Until somebody unplugs the mics on us or the cord on us.
Or somebody like unplugs my sleep apnea mask.
Yeah.
Then I can't talk about it.
Yeah. And that's the only way we can repay back people that listen. Hopefully we get a lot more exclusive content, whether that's bringing you guys press conference stuff or talking to players in the locker room or trying to activate some of the ideas and events that that doesn't sound right. I can't say it. Trying to bust the nut that is NYCFC open to allow our media members to flourish, man. Like these dudes, like they get to take like free kick challenges with, like, think of all the things that players all over the world do with their club and have conversations with people and like learn who these guys are and just spend time with them and give the fans content that they deserve.
Right.
So that's
our goals.
It's first steps to making some of this stuff happen, and we'll keep trying to push the envelope as long as we could. Because we've been doing it, and it's been, whether it's recording at the press box and the games and all the different things.
I think there's one crazy life lesson that we've learned with this, like above all, which is like you just gotta ask. Like if you just ask, things happen.
Yeah, you gotta be persistent. So you could ask. And
my boss calls it being a squeaky wheel.
Squeaky wheel.
He says in life you gotta be a squeaky wheel. If you're not a squeaky wheel, no one's gonna pay attention to you.
Yeah, I mean you can never send too many follow-up emails.
That is his life.
Although some people...
That is his life.
Some people do say the worst you could say is the worst that could happen is they say no. And then they hit you with the...
You are not ready for this.
Yeah.
You were never ready for this.
Not that happened to us.
You'll never be ready for this.
Yeah. You're very, very far from being able to do this. But good luck, though. So that's
episode
116, believe it.
116 is crazy.
Yeah, 116. Many more to come.
We'll be recording probably soon. Just going over whatever's going on in the community, whatever's going on, obviously, with MLS Cup.
And bring people on.
Bringing people on.
I don't know if we should drop names, but we have a number of Blue City Radio guys to bring on. Mike Onderer. We've had Michael Allen. I mean, it's about Mike due Allen. For Mike Allen to make his 6th appearance.
Mike Allen could sleep on our couch if he wanted to.
Yeah, he could stay in the studio. Yeah. Imagine us in studio with him.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Onderer and...
We pack this all into your car and bring it to some office space in New York.
Christian from Five Borough Footy has long been on the list. All the Five Borough Footy guys. There's the City Boys. I mean, it's almost a travesty that we haven't been on their show and they haven't been on ours.
Yeah.
I mean, because we've had endless conversations, like every press box interaction.
Well, I've made an appearance.
You did, yeah. You did go on the show
for quite a little bit.
Yeah. So more podception things to come in the future.
For sure. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you guys to know it. Damn. I dropped that.
We'll see you guys.
Peace.